one of the biggest problems we have, and it's interesting you talk about activation and having platforms, and I think one of the big issues that we've had that, I've been pounding the table, I know Bob Latham's been pounding the table, I know all of our board members, it's a concern. We have no certainty around, even in a good year as an organization, we have no certainty around fixtures. We've got the San Francisco Accord, and next year, we're slated to have England in July. But there's no structure or competition around that. We had the ARC, which was going great. That's being reviewed currently as well, due to just even the ability to put it on currently, and obviously everyone's costs. So, as an organisation, we, and part of what we're doing with World Rugby and World Rugby's investment with us is working with Canada and I mean, they hate saying tier 2 unions now, and they're trying to change the terminology for that, but we're never going to get better if we're never allowed to play in structured, meaningful competition for the men and the women. And there's some great plans in place to globalise the women's tournaments. There's the Six Nations. We've announced, and we're going to be part of what's called a Pac-4 competition with Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And then I think we can use the women's game to almost lead the way, if you like, on globalising an international calendar and ending up with really accurate world rankings at the end of the year, because everyone's playing meaningful competitions. I think we're away from that. We're exploring a number of opportunities, but if we are going to build commercial value, the single biggest thing we need is certainty and meaningful competition for our 15s teams. And I'm excited about potential opportunities. We've got a long way to go to get certainty of it, but believe you me, we're hammering away hard with World Rugby to give us the opportunity to have that platform.
There are geographic and financial realities with that. I'm old enough to remember the old Pac Rim competition and the Epsom Cup, when that used to be Japan, Canada, USA, and Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong got kicked out because they didn't really operate as a test competition, and then they brought in Tonga, Samoa, and Fiji. Yes, great, really exciting, and that lasted about 2 years before World Rugby pared it back, which was unfortunate. On the face of it, as a rugby journalist or a fan, that was a great competition. But newsflash, the Pacific Ocean is really big. Right? And can you get the players available, and the money, the expense associated with that, and can you, we saw the great documentary Oceans Apart points out, you have a test match in Apia, Samoa, they're charging $4 for a ticket. So they sell that thing out. They're still not making any money, really.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So there are all those different realities. So then you say, come to America, or come to Vancouver, and we'll all play in Vancouver. But is that the same? So I would imagine some of those things bubble up as to who you play, correct, and how does it get facilitated, and how does it become financially viable.
Listen, and we've got to go way back to the start of the whole process. And I think again, huge. We're all living through a nightmare, as we know, in the current environment, but it is giving us an opportunity to explore what we're doing from the base down, and even the designation of where we sit within World Rugby's rule books. Currently we're really designated Northern Hemisphere. Obviously, we are in the north, but when you look at it, it probably makes more sense for us, because the way our calendar, the way the MLR season sort of links into the timings, is we're much more conducive towards a Southern Hemisphere season if we're talking about building things out. So,
right,
as we're exploring options and we're exploring everything, first thing we should really look at, because that the release mechanisms for Reg 9 are linked to what hemisphere you're in, and does it really make sense for a release window for us for international competition around the Six Nations at that time of year? Probably not. So, we are putting all those things on the table, and almost trying to redefine what we want to do with regard to international calendarization. It will take time. Let's face it. Obviously everyone's aware of what World Rugby try to do with that global competition from a men's 15 side before, and that was it ideal? No, it wasn't perfect, but it had some really good points linked into. So, yeah, we'll keep hammering away, but if we're truly going to get to where we want to from the men's and the women's side, we need that structure, and we need to confirm who we are from that very top level.
I find all of this fascinating because the effects there are strange effects about this. This links to like the Gulf Stream, right? The Gulf Stream goes up and warms the UK. So in February and March, the UK is warm enough that you can play international rugby. In most of the United States, which is further south, they're snowbound. We don't play at that time.
Yeah.
And people still have to learn about that and when can you play, and when, Europe is generally milder. I mean that there are snow areas, but it's generally milder, so you can play in March, and in a lot of the United States you can't. But we can find a place to play in August. We're okay, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
We've got a lot of work to do before we're in that position, but I think we have to be sensible, Alex. We have to just take it one step at a time, and some really exciting discussions about potentially playing a really good Pac-4 competition before the World Cup for the women's team in New Zealand next year. There is a potential, if it comes off, and you got to try and think big, but we may play 3 of the world's top 4 teams next year. Or from a men's 15, we may end up playing 3 of the biggest test matches in the history of the Eagles in one calendar year next year if things go well. So there are some exciting opportunities there, but we've just got to take it one step at a time.
That's all we can do. Ross Young, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much, and best of luck. Hopefully, you'll be back. Everyone will be back in the offices and back in the field soon.
Fingers crossed, and everyone have a safe and happy holidays. Appreciate it, Alex.